Now let's turn to South Africa, where voting is underway for what could be the most consequential election since the end of the apartheid era enforced racial hierarchy. Well, nearly 28 million voters will have the chance to elect representatives to the national and provincial parliaments. Anger over corruption scandals, soaring crime, frequent power cuts and also water shortages suggest that the African National Congress, the party of the country's first democratically elected President Nelson Mandela, may lose its majority for the first time in 30 years. Well, my colleague Catherine Burahanga is in Soweto for us. Catherine, what's the atmosphere there like?
Well, Kasia, it's winter here in the southern hemisphere, but as you can see, the sun is out, it's getting warmer, and the lines are forming just behind us. We're at Orlando West High School in the historic Soweto township. We're not too far from the former president Nelson Mandela's home, as well as the home of the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. This is a crucial year for South Africans. Of course, it's 30 years since the end of apartheid and the time when millions of black South Africans could vote for the first time. This is also potentially a watershed moment for the country because the ANC could lose its majority in Parliament. Over 27 million people are expected to vote across South Africa's 9 provinces today. And we're joined by the award-winning author and journalist, Juanita Hunter. Thank you for joining us here on BBC News. How is this vote shaping up across the country today?
I think it's an important moment, just given the historic or symbolic 30 years of democracy. This is the 7th time South Africans are coming out to vote, and it comes at a time where the ANC may lose its majority. What does that mean? It means that for 30 years, the ANC had a firm grip on government and on power, and now it's not as certain as its own failures, as voters tell us that they are in fact disappointed by what the ANC has promised versus what they have delivered.
And Juanita, as people go into the ballot booths here, the voting booths, they're faced with so much choice. There are more than 70 political parties taking part in these elections. What does that choice mean for South Africa at the moment?
South Africa has always had a vibrant multi-party democracy, but in the past there has been, some big political parties that dominate. With the decline of the ANC, you're not really seeing a massive increase in support for the official opposition. What you're seeing is a fragmentation of the opposition vote. People are voting for all sorts of political parties across the spectrum. The Democratic Alliance is the official opposition. The EFF is, a left-leaning populist party. You see the emergence of new parties. The former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, is leading a party, and his name is on a ballot, despite the fact that he can't actually go to Parliament. But his name is on the ballot and commands some support. So definitely, if the ballot was a menu, you have lots of options at this buffet today as South Africans. But I think that what's important is how voters decide in terms of the national vote and how that contrasts to the provincial vote.
Juanita Hunter, thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Now, should the ANC lose its majority in Parliament, there'll be an interesting dynamic for the first time here in South Africa, which is that it will have to form a coalition government. And that means building alliances with perhaps the bigger parties, but also the smaller ones. So that's an interesting thing to watch out for in the coming days, Kasia. And obviously, we expect the final results to be announced on Sunday evening.
Catherine Burahanga there joining us live from Soweto, and just love that idea of the ballot being a menu, as your guest mentioned there. Catherine Burahanga, thank you so much. Lots more on the voting on that election in South Africa, of course, on our website.